There we go. Now my mic's on. All right, we got it. We did all the things. Hello, everyone. Welcome to First Five Live, complete with technical difficulties as always. I'm your host, Chaos Theory, and I'm joined by Phillycheaz. What's up, man?
Hey guys.
So, tonight we are going to dive into the spoilers for the next two sets. However, before we start getting into that topic, we've got some news to go over in the competitive space here. So, Phil, you want to kick us off here with that?
Yeah, sure. It's been a bit since we uh had our previous episode. So the AIL finished and Jason won it in the end, Jason Perry. Congrats to you, Jason.
Yeah, awesome.
And I think he was on like a James rush strategy there. So that was pretty cool to see James that he felt confident enough to bring a James to the finals to win it. So
Yeah,
that's really awesome to see there.
for sure.
And for the shuttle bus, it's gotten to the finals now, and it's going to be a Brennan mirror. So
Yeah,
that's really interesting because before this season, like everyone was really down on Brennan, and now it seems like Brennan's really becoming the boogeyman with this like Widow's Rush strategy. What do you think about that?
yeah, it's definitely been the talk of the town the last month or so, and it's been interesting to see people talk about it. I think that it's still a little too early to say one way or the other if Brennan is, you know, problematic, but it's definitely cool to see Brennan have like this kind of success. We haven't really seen anything from her like um, at this caliber of play, I guess,
Hmm.
since the game relaunched. So yeah, it's really cool. It is wild to me to think of a Brennan Mir in the finals. Like I would have maybe guessed one Brennan in the finals, but both of them,
Hmm.
that's wild.
Yeah, with how they were talking about the deck so much. Like it seemed like one of them would definitely make it, and then they're both making it is like
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome for them. For those who don't know, like the Widow's Rush strategy is like they put out a Raptor Herder, and then turn two they Spirit Burn Raptor Herder, get out two Widows, and then attack you for six after Spirit Burning for two. So then you're down eight life on turn two. So
yeah,
it can be pretty hard to get back from after that.
yep. And then you just die to
But
burn spells,
yeah,
and
or just psychic burn.
yep. So it is a true blue aggro deck, or I guess true red, I should say. I don't know. That's more Magic the Gathering terminology, but it's pure aggro, and it's really cool to see that because I think the meta of Ashes overall has been very slanted towards like a mid-rangey sort of grind out incremental advantages, and yeah, it's very different style of Ashes play.
Yeah, we've
Uh,
never seen that before, so it's really cool to see. Like you,
mhm.
I'd always heard in like other games like there's big aggro decks, and I'd never felt that that was in Ashes before this. So
Yeah,
it's, yeah, it's cool to see.
for sure. Um, and I think were the finals, they weren't tonight, were they?
No, I think they they're scheduling for the weekend sometime.
Okay, cool. Well, keep an eye out on Shufflebus's Twitch channel for that, and on the Discord they'll have information if you want to watch those. It's always a good time. Uh, yeah. So we have. I mean, was that all the news? I think that was it, right?
Yeah, we're
Basically.
probably missing some stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
for the two tournaments that are going on, that's what we had.
Yeah. And I think Team Covenant's going to be starting a new series where they're going to be focusing on sort of like new player stuff like they've done for some other games where they sort of
Oh, yeah.
introduce important new player tips and strategies and stuff soon. So that's going to be really cool too to see.
Hmm.
Um, but let's go ahead and get to the main event because this is going to take us a little while to get through. We are going to go ahead and do a review of both Dimona and Hope 100% all the way through. and there's a lot to talk about here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the first card on our list here. Well,
Oh,
actually,
first,
we have to talk about
yeah,
the Phoenixborn first, right?
yeah, we talked about them a little bit when they were first announced, but that was uh, since we're going over the whole set here, it seems right to go over them again with all the other cards that we know about.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I've got Dimona Odin pulled up here, and now this is really cool because Dimona is one of the promo Phoenixborn that were released in 1.0. She was actually the only promo Phoenixborn that I got a copy of when I first bought into 1.0 Ashes way back. And I didn't really play this game a whole lot in its 1.0 form, but I always thought Demona was like really cool, and I still do. Like the artwork and everything, the paladin theme, the lightning is really really awesome, and it's really cool to see this sort of rendition of Demona out here. But what we have here is a 7 battlefield, 16 life, 3 spell board, Phoenixborn. So this is sort of in line with all of the kind of the Heralds and the Jameses and so on, where you have sort of a middling life but a high battlefield and low spell board. So more of a focus on allies typically, in those type of builds. Um, and her ability is promote, and it's a main action exhaust to basic, and you get to, in a weird sort of fashion, you get to summon a mount. But it's not like your typical mounts because you get to remove an exhausted ally, and then when you do, you get an Empyrean mount. And the Empyrean mount, I'll go ahead and hover or pull this up. It's a 3/3/3, and when it is declared as an attacker, you choose a target unit opponent controls. That unit must block this unit if able. So, yeah, you basically get to choose defenders. It's sort of a weird kind of stalk thing.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like stalk and threatening combined.
yeah, for sure. So, yeah, Demona, this is really interesting because she has this 2 basic ability on her Phoenixborn. We've seen this with other Phoenixborn like Symboli before. It's really nice to have an ability like this, and I guess Mayoni as well, where you have like a dice sink for whenever you a basic dice sink specifically, um, for when you just maybe you're stuck with some weird hands, maybe you got some weird dice costs, and you're always going to be able to do this. It's always on, it's always a threat, and it's something your opponent has to respect at all points in the game.
Yeah, it really helps so you're not. Um,
We still on here?
yeah, I lost you for a second.
Oh, my
I
bad.
saw I saw your mouth moving, but I wasn't sure what was going on, so I stopped talking.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I was just saying it's nice that like having that basic dice sync, so you don't have to meditate too much, and then you can just depending on your hands, if they're leaning more towards a certain color, you can spend that basic dice with your other dice that rather than being
Mm.
stuck not able to use all your cards.
Yeah. And being able to use your ally, for regular mounts, it's a unexhausted ally in play,
Hmm.
which is really cool. Like you get to threaten this at any time. It changes the dynamic quite a lot actually, because with most other mounts, you want to like get your ally down and then like immediately mount it with like a Ceresaurus, because if you don't, your opponent has the ability to pick them off um before you can mount it up. With here though, like it's any exhausted ally. It could happen at any time. And you don't have to, be very time sensitive with the unexhausted one. Um
Hmm.
and Imperium Mount, I mean, it's pretty big, you know. It's just a big, big thing that swings and just picks apart the board. Um, yeah, no overkill here, no way to push damage through to the Phoenixborn, and most of the time you're just fighting for the battlefield. So, what do you think about this sort of package in general. It seems like she's just going to be super focused on grinding the opponent out and fighting for the board, getting incremental advantages and so on.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot of ways to like um pressure with the Imperium mount, and with the allies that you use, either with like light swordsman is one of my favorite to like side action swing,
Hmm.
and then after you've gotten the value out of them already, you can mount him on the next turn if they don't deal with him. Um, or like use a violinist to like take out a unit and then mount next turn.
Yeah,
So I think there's lots of options she has with that.
yeah, for sure. But that's not all because I always, it feels like she has one too many signatures because of this, you know. But
That's
she
true, yeah.
she actually has a signature card too, the classic Wayward Knight. Uh, Nick kept the stat line and the cost, which is really cool. It's a 3/3/3 for 3. Again, all basic, but the ability has been changed up a little bit. So when it comes into play, you can search your discard pile with an ally, shuffle it into your draw pile, which is cool. You just guaranteeing that you always have those threats, even towards later in the game. Which again, combined with all these basic costs, makes Dimona just extremely mill resilient. But it also has this side action charge. Take an attack action targeting a unit and declaring this unit as the attacker. So again, I think it's really focused on battlefield control more than straight aggression, because you have to target a unit. You're not able to target face with this, and again, no overkill or anything like that. So you're really just trying to like really dominate the battlefield here.
Yeah, I think that's really cool having that like huge basic dice sink. And I don't know if you're typically going to want to mount the Rayward Knight over
Mm-hmm.
like a cheaper body. Um, but it is an option just to um then bring the Rayward Knight out for a later round if they can't take that out. So
Yeah,
then if you dip that, like it's a 5 basic dice sink every round. So like you're really not going to have to be meditating much at all. So that's really cool.
yeah, and and she doesn't really need to care a whole lot about what's on her spell board or what's in her hand. Like she's always gonna have threats or ways to turn other cards into threats, which is it's pretty cool. Um, Very unique sort of play style out of Demona. Uh, yeah, that's and also I think it's really thematic too. Like she's got this army of loyal knights and like charging onto the battlefield to try to take it over by force. The cavalry comes in. It all feels
And they
very thematic to me.
just keep charging in, taking out one unit after another.
Yeah, I love the flavor text on this card. I point and they will see it dead. Like Demona, she's got this like light paladin type thing going on, but she's bloodthirsty.
Yeah, it's a nice contrast there. It's cool.
All right, well let's go ahead and look at Hope too before we start digging into the decks. So Hope Everthorn, they are the uh, first transgender Phoenixborn, which is pretty cool. Definitely seeing more and more diverse representation amongst Phoenixborn in this game. Um, and with that being said, forgive me if I mess up the pronouns. I even in like writing about this Phoenixborn all the time, I'm constantly having to it's them, they, them. But uh, Hope. Hope is a 6 battlefield, 17 life, 5 spell board, Phoenixborn, and their ability is duplicate. So it's side action, exhaust, basic. You choose a conjuration you control with a life value of 1, put a copy of that conjuration onto the battlefield, and at the end of this turn, destroy that copy. Um, Now, crucially, and there's been a lot of rules questions about this and stuff, but you're pulling that conjuration from your conjuration deck. If you don't have any left in your deck, you can't duplicate. Um, but yeah, this ability is this whole Phoenixborn here is pretty wild. Like they are very pushed, I think, as far as like the stats that you get and the cool ability, and it's very versatile. There's lots of different things. We could talk about duplicate all night, honestly.
Yeah, duplicate seems really cool. I haven't had a chance to test it too much yet, but like, um, just like we were talking about the Widow's Rush strategy earlier, like dropping a Raptor Herder, then you have the um Raptor, then like next turn you can duplicate that for like 5 damage right there.
Hmm.
You can even do like a Salamander Monks to you duplicate that, you swing at a unit, and then it pops to get a spirit, so then you can attack with that too. So it's like a one basic die for like 2 swings, which is really cool.
Hmm.
Lightbringer is also really good to force them to have to attack again. Like there's just a lot of really cool like options and interactions that you can do with Hope.
Yeah, and the Lightbringer thing too. Like, uh, I was thinking, summon a Lightbringer attack with it because you want to get that value, but it's also very strong. You lose out on the attack, but it's also very strong to just side action use Lightbringer's effect and then throw down a Hammer Knight or something. Like
Hmm.
force them to make their next turn an attack that they don't necessarily want to do, which exhausts part of their battlefield, and then you play something else. So, um,
Yeah.
I think I did it in a game recently. I did side action Lightbringer, main action Raptor Herder. The the tempo on that, the swing of the battlefield is so much because you
Yeah.
get rid of a blocker, you summon two attackers, and then you set up your Void Pulse for next turn, which we'll get to Void Pulse in a minute, but it's really strong. It's really, really good. So, yeah, that's Duplicate, and I think Duplicate plays perfectly into Hope's signature spell, which is Void Pulse. Um, a card that I'm frankly shocked got printed the way it did. But here we are. It's a reaction spell, one basic. You can play it after you declare attackers, and then you deal damage to a target unit opponent controls equal to the number of attacking units. So if you attack with 4 units, you deal 4 damage to a unit. Then, if it destroys that unit, after it's destroyed, you get to draw 2 cards. Pretty solid. Then change 2 dice in a target player's active pool to a side of your choice. So it's not spin down. It's the magic siphon effect. You change it to a side of your choice. Powers to basics. Um,
That's so much good stuff going on just at once for one
yeah,
basic.
it's a lot of value, and it being a reaction means that you get to kind of cheat actions with it here because you can duplicate to make it bigger. Your setup turn is literally the same turn you're playing the card. So, um, yeah, this thing can blow up bears and knights. Mm, I would say without too much effort, and then you get to draw. And the cool thing here too is the draw cards. Like you draw into more options, more ways to just keep your tempo going. And changing the dice in their pool, that's essentially a discard too for them because they're meditating. So, uh, yeah, you shut off their reactions for the next turn. Like you take away their meteor. Like there's just so much. I think subtle hidden value in this package.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ho-
that card seems really crazy.
Hope's pretty wild.
There, it's like this package with Hope's ability and Void Pulse seems like one of the most synergistic uh Phoenixborn and uniques we've seen in a while. Like I think Jess's is pretty comparable in
Hmm.
how Fear um goes off of screams really well. But yeah, duplicate into swinging with Void Pulse just goes so well together. So it's really cool seeing that synergy there.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, uh, I think with both of these Phoenixborn, it's easy to see that um, they're definitely pushing power level of Phoenixborn. I think you know, as far as what we've seen in Reborn so far, I think Jericho. There's a lot of potential with Jericho, but we just haven't seen Prepared be super impactful in
Mhm.
most games. Blink is really cool, but you have to really build around it quite a bit, and you know,
Yeah.
yes, and I think Phoenixborn abilities are more important. To have a good Phoenixborn ability. Auric has been a lot of fun for a lot of people, but not very competitive. Um, and Lulu is really strong, really good. Um, but yeah, these, I think we're seeing sort of a move towards trying to make Phoenixborn, the new Phoenixborn anyway, a little bit more impactful. And wow, this is it's definitely a step.
You did it here, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I will say about Hope, real quick, before we move on, is you know, even though I think this is very, very pushed package here, Hope does have like the 6 battlefield seems like a lot until you start actually playing with duplicate and like the kinds of decks that Hope wants to be playing, and then you realize that it's actually kind of small for what she's doing. You would love to have like 7 or 8 with this kind of setup. But yeah, so you have to consider battlefield clog, I think, especially if you're going to be running stuff like salamanders, and with them dying, and you're just accumulating all these monk spirits that can't block. So
That's fair.
yeah.
Good point.
All right. Let's go ahead and look at some cards here.
Yeah.
Um, all right, we're gonna kind of go in reverse order of what we think are the best cards in the packs. Is that basically how you
Yeah,
wanted to lay it out? Yeah.
not necessarily like best, but like what like makes us like our most exciting cards, I guess, to us. So like just
Okay.
to build up to that, like
Yeah.
some cards could be better, but like we look at this card, it's like, oh, this has some really cool like possibilities and like what you can do with it.
Sure. All right. Cool. Well, let's kick this off with Reimagine. So this is in Hope's deck, and it's a ready spell. It doesn't have any play costs, just the main action. Um, and it's sort of doing a royal charm thing here. It says after you pay for a dice power using time power or illusion power, you may place that die and one exhaustion token on this spell if it has no dice on it. So you can't stack them or anything. It's just one. But it has an inexhaustible ability. It says you may use dice on this spell to pay the cost of reactions, and you can place any dice on the spell in your exhausted pool at the end of the round. So you're not stuck with this just lingering on the spell forever if you didn't use it. But yeah, so it's sort of like an inverse royal charm thing.
Yeah, 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 like you said, it's an inverse, because you have to spend the dice power first and then you get to use it later rather than with Royal Charm where you spend it on something and then later you get to use that power. So
Yeah,
it's interesting there. Um, I'm not sure how often like you'd get to get it off though. Like you'd have to be running a lot of reactions to make that work.
yeah.
And my thought with that is like, yeah, the times you don't draw it, then it's just a dead card. Or if you like somehow don't have any more reactions left, like there's not really much recursion. There's no
Mhm.
real recursion to get your reactions back. So then if you run out, it's like can't do anything with it anymore. So it's a little less useful in my mind than Royal Charm is like always active for you.
Yeah, and you know, royal charm crucially being able to like you can use that divine power to pay for literally any cost. It could be a basic cost,
Right.
you know. Uh I think we'll see here in a little bit when we start talking about some of Damona's stuff that Royal Charm fits in really nicely with kind of um her a lot of the cards in her deck. The reason being, like, you can use the divine power to pay for promote if you want. It doesn't the
Yep.
spell doesn't care where it comes from. It just has to be a power. Whereas this, you have to pay for the dice power. So, the wolf dice power I think is situationally awesome, but it
Hmm.
is situational. So you don't really want to use it all the time. Um, the time power die is even more situational, I think. Um, I have seen that dice power used to strong effect in certain matchups, but almost all the time, no pun intended, I'm not seeing it used for its dice power. It's just it's
Mhm.
I would rate it as one of the weakest dice powers actually. Um so yeah, it's just it's kind of sad that it's paying for a dice power. If it was paying any cost using these, then I would feel a lot better about this card.
Yeah, if it was like Royal Charm, it'd be really strong. Like I think just with like getting to use an illusion power like every turn for free would be really nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. It's the kind of card that makes me think about the possibility of future design more than it makes me think about the possibility of using it in the meta now, you know?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
maybe we'll see some like crazy reimagined shenanigans later down the line. Um, yeah. Okay, so next up, what actually I'm juggling a bunch of tabs. Could you read me the cards on the list and I'll search them?
Yeah. Next one is Adept Duelist.
All right. Oh, it's right here. All right. So we got a side action ally, which is really cool. Light swordsman, their older cousin or something. Side action time power basic, so it's a 2 cost. It's got 2 attack, 1 life, 1 recover. It has stalk, and it has an disarm ability. When this unit is declared as an attacker, you can discard a target alteration spell attached to the unit that an opponent controls.
I really like that disarm ability. Just like um you have like a root armored knight across the board and you just like drop that down, swing, and then the root armor's gone. And there's no real way to like target or like cancel that effect either. Like all the
Yeah,
cancels um are when you're like targeting units and this targets that spell. And even like a massive growth that has a spell guard. Well, this is a unit that's doing it, so even that can't stop it from being removed. So that's really cool.
yeah,
I think
and
the
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think the only thing it has going against it is that it's like a 2 cost card for just a
Mm-hmm.
2/1. So it's pretty expensive to put out for something that's going to die pretty easily. Um,
Yeah,
but that like the disarm ability can be just really great to have. Like run it in a James like toolbox decks just to
yeah,
like have it in your deck in case you need it, just to bring out with James can be like a really nice play to have there.
yeah. In 1 life, James really likes this a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, I think is really important. Disarm ability does not care what you're attacking at all. You
That's
don't
true,
have
yeah.
to be attacking the unit with the alteration. You could just swing Adept Duelist at a Ruby Cobra. They can't block it. You or guard. They can't guard against it. You get the kill and you disarm you know, the Rune Armored Knight or whatever it is. Um,
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing going against this card is honestly just that we're not in an alteration spell meta, really.
Right.
Um, this card can completely shut down a lot of decks that Red King likes to play. Where he like is stacking, 3 or 4 alterations on like a concealed unit or a holy knight or something, and building this
Mhm.
massive eternal blocker or something like that, or an OTK engine. Like it actually is more of an anti-combo deck tool, I think, than sort of a good stuff card. But you know, if Rune Armor ever becomes like a menace in the meta, at least it's cool to know that we have like a really solid answer to it.
Yeah, yeah, a way to stop it.
Yeah,
Professional Dork says in the chat, it's cool running alongside light swordsmen, so you have 2 units that can swing as soon as they show up. It's like that's
yeah,
pretty cool to have. Yeah, you drop light sword or probably adept duelist first.
hmm
I guess it doesn't matter. Attack, swing with one, and then next turn swing with the other. So then just really quick attacks. Um,
yeah. You could almost
running.
treat these as sort of like burn spells for these colors,
That's
but
true. Yeah.
burn spells that leave behind bodies. You know?
And then in Dimona, it's like just like more pressure that they have to deal with the units right away before she mounts up and gets the Empyrean mount out. So
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, just sort of like if you're going second, um, and you get to the end of the round, you just like swing this into face because both players have used up all their resources. There's the whole battlefield's exhausted, and you just swing for two, and then you've got another unit to swing wide on the top of the round. That could be pretty devastating. So,
Yeah, that's really cool.
all right, pretty cool card. What's going up next?
Next we have Reinforce.
Ah, yes, this one's been kind of divisive. I love the artwork. It's so cool. You get
Yeah.
the Wayward Knight, the Crystal Archer, and the Adept Duelist all together. So it's a side action to play. I actually didn't realize that. So side action time class to put in a ready spell into play, and it's got a main action exhaust. So no cost to that ability. Look at the top 5 cards of your draw pile. You may reveal an ally or alteration spell and place it into your hand. Shuffle your draw pile. You may immediately play the revealed card without paying any main or side action costs. What do you think about this?
I think it can be okay in Fiona,
Okay.
since you'll want a lot of like um cards that work well with her. You'll have like some Mind Maces and the Polarity Mage
Mm-hmm.
to just cycle that way. But yeah, it's 5 cards, but I still worry about like just missing with
Uh-huh.
even if it's 5 cards and then just not it being useless. Just same with like Reimagine, like the times that you don't hit anything, it's just a dead card. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that just scares me to play it, but I think in some decks it can work pretty well in, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say.
Uh,
How
I,
about you?
looking at it again now, because I was pretty low on this before.
Hmm.
Um, it is kind of cool to just have a main action sitting around. Even if it whiffs.
That's true. Yeah, just
Um,
to stall out a bit.
yeah, it's a pass without a pass, which is, that can be very strong in the right situation. I find myself more and more building decks with lots of mains in them, just so I can like wait to commit resources before
Mhm.
I see what my opponent's doing. So yeah, that could be really cool. Ally or alteration does make it pretty flexible. Again, the alteration thing, there's just not a whole lot of decks running them. Like, you'll see the occasional, massive growths and root armors, occasionally some other stuff, but alterations aren't super strong, competitively speaking. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of ally targets. I do like that you play the card like immediately too. Like that's good tempo. Um,
Yeah, that is really cool.
and it's a May, so you don't have to. Um, I do think actually, now that I'm thinking about this, we're gonna be talking about crystal armor later on, but crystal armor can be played at reaction speed. So there is kind of a cool little mind game thing with this where you can pull a crystal armor into your hand and it says you may immediately play it, but you don't have to. So you can just like pull it and like just hold it in your hand and it's like I have this and when am I gonna
Yep,
play it? And they just don't they're forced to make bad decisions.
that's interesting. Yeah,
I don't know. That's kind of fun. Maybe
some fun mind games there. Yeah,
yeah, maybe we'll see more reaction speed. Oh, and also maybe good with Shadow Guard.
I was just thinking with Shadow Guard, it could be cool too. You draw that, and it's just sitting there, and they know like as soon as they attack, if you have 2 illusion up, that could get dropped and like either block or it's going to hit you for 3.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I
Mhm.
I like the design space of this card. I think it's cool. It's tutor effects are usually among some of the strongest in any card game, and so I definitely think the top 5 is a good limiter on this. But uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. It's a cool card. There are some players who are really high on it. Um, there are some players who think it's garbage. I think that's a fun place for a card to be in.
Yeah.
All right, what we got next?
Next we have Ensnare.
Oh man. Man, we had this pretty low, didn't we? I mean, I guess it's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
yeah, I
Uh
think that's why it ended up getting that low. Like,
yeah.
before we get into it, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a good card and like something you have to play around, but it's just like basic design, just like
Pretty
fundamentals that it adds to it. So
yeah. Yeah. So
definitely,
it's a reaction spell, illusion power. You play it after an opponent declares a guard. Deal 2 damage to the target guarding unit or Phoenixborn. I've been burned by this card a lot. It This card drives me bananas. I hate this card. I
I
hate
feel
playing
like it
against
can
it.
just mess people up so bad. Like they think they're just taking like 2 damage from a guard, and then it's just buffed by 2. Or if they use a unit to guard, the unit probably has 2 life left, so that gets blown up, and their other unit that was getting attacked still gets hit anyway. So
Yeah, yeah,
it can
because
be insane.
it kills Gilder before, and like
Yeah,
the combat then still resolves as normal. Like the Gilder wasn't blocking at all. It doesn't fizzle
right.
out. Um, and I think it shows Turtle Guard in the artwork. I think that's kind of a hint there. But yeah, this card's really annoying, and uh, I have an idea for a video I want to do soon where I'm talking about like important strategy for intermediate player newer to intermediate players. And one thing I want to talk about is Phoenixborn guarding and how it's one of your most powerful tools and one of your most precious resources because you only get one per round and it can make or break a round, honestly, when you choose to Phoenixborn guard. And this card is so annoying for that because you pick, very carefully when you want to Phoenixborn guard so that you can, you know, try and protect your best units while also not taking a massive hit. And then they take a massive hit anyway. And it's just like, wow, like now you have to recalculate your life totals and maybe you wouldn't have taken that risk. Maybe you wouldn't have put your Phoenixborn in danger if you knew you were going to take 5 damage.
Mhm.
You know, um, that's a lot of pressure, and yeah, I think it's a pretty good card. It is straightforward, but I think it's really strong.
Yeah, for sure. 1 for 2 can never like it's up there with all the great burns
Hmm.
spells, so it's gonna do a lot for illusion to pump it up its damage, I think.
Yeah, and I like it being an illusion too. Illusion has some other tricks to try and other reach, with like dark presence and secret door and stuff like that. But those are pretty. You can have to build around them, or they can be kind of awkward.
Yeah,
Um,
they're more combo centric. This is just like
yeah, this is just a two
just
damage.
damage.
Yep. Yeah, that's a cool card. I really like it a lot.
Hmm.
Alrighty, next.
Next we have outmaneuver.
How do you spell that again? It's EU, isn't it? Ah,
Yes.
I knew it. Wait, outmaneuver. Hold on. Is this you got a different name?
Did I call the name wrong?
Is it
Probably.
disengage?
Disengage.
Okay.
Well, that's why we can't find it.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second. Um,
I was
okay.
running off memory when I'm writing this list. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
it's all right. It's all right. So we got disengage. I think thematically, this is one of my favorite cards. So I'll read what it is first, and then go into that. So it's another reaction spell. It's a time power, and it says you may play the spell after an opponent declares blockers. Choose an attacking ally you control that is blocked. It is no longer attacking. Place one exhaustion token on the target unit that was blocking the chosen ally. So you come in swinging, your opponent declares a blocker, and then you say, never mind, I'm not swinging. And then their unit exhausts anyway. And you get an unexhausted ally still here. The reason I love this is the artwork has Adept Duelist jumping out of the way of an ice golem swing, and Nick does art direction for this, and I don't know if everyone knows that too. Like he's the card designer, but he also does art direction for a lot of these cards. And I this is my favorite art direction that I've seen of all the new
I really,
stuff
yeah, I
because
really love this art too. It's really
like
sweet.
it's so thematic. Ice Golem has alterations on it. Um, you want to ice buff it or you want to like put something on it so it gets that health boost. And then you got Adept Duelist who removes alterations, and it comes in swinging, gets the alteration out of the way, and then dodges backwards and gets to attack again and just potentially disarm again or just swing again. It's just so cool. It's so well done.
Mhm. So I think the hardest part about trying to get this off is that it is ally only.
Yeah.
Um, so if they see you have a town power up, they could just be like, okay, I'll just block the conjurations. But if they're
Hmm.
doing that and you're bluffing it, I think that can be really cool because then you're just like getting your allies in. Um,
Yeah.
so I think it has some cool mind game potential there. Uh, kind of similar to Ensnare, where it's like, oh, if I block, I could take guard, I could take extra damage. So do I want to block? So it's got some interesting space there.
Yeah. I think like most reactions like this, this is maybe a little bit more situational than something like Call to Action. But this is sort of like a uh it can be like a big swing in the same way that that card can. You just have to kind of
Hmm.
set it up a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more telegraphed, but um yeah, I think it could be really strong. Um especially since, you know, the opponent that or the unit that your opponent wants to block with, if it's a knight, that is tremendous value. the
Yeah,
big
that's
the,
really good there.
and knights are usually alert, so like they want to block. So yeah, I mean that can be devastating. You exhaust their knight and then you get to swing again and they don't have that alert blocker up and yeah. But I don't know. We'll see if it actually sees any play though. I think it might be a little bit too tricky
Yeah, I
to
don't think it'll see much play right away. Like in the next like AIL or Shuffle Bus, like maybe it'll pop up in a couple decks, but I don't think it'll be too prominent. Like people, it'll take some
mhm.
time for people to like figure out how to make it work best.
Yeah, and it's also in time as well. And so we're just now getting to the point where time decks are starting to seem like they're gaining traction. So we'll see.
Hmm.
Alrighty. Next card. Keep it
Next
moving run
card
along.
is Dream Fracture.
All right. I love the artwork on this too.
Yes, some of the art direction for like both of these sets were probably some of my favorite piece of art he has
Oh
in
yeah,
this too
for
that Nick
sure.
made.
So Dream Fracture is a ready spell in Hope's deck. And it's a side action illusion class to put into play. Main action exhaust to activate, so free ability. Choose a target opponent that has one or more dice in their active pool. Lower one die in their active pool one level, and then deal one damage to their Phoenixborn if they have no dice in their power side. So this is like a spin down uh
Frostbite.
payoff. Yeah, it's like a frostbite. Yeah. It's a spin down payoff tool. If you
Yeah.
they have to have
Yep.
no power dice to get that damage in. Otherwise I think this is a little bit underwhelming just to main action lower a die. Um
And they have to have dice in their pool, so you can't wait until the end of the round when they've spent their dice.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
But if you're already doing stuff with like shadow spirits and hollows and as we'll see here in a little bit, Dreamlock Mage. If you're doing this spin down stuff already and you're in Void Pulse, so you're keeping them off of their power dice like constantly, then for one you're accelerating the mill game plan because they're having to meditate like a lot, but also
Hmm.
you're dealing damage, and that's one of the things that's Mill has always kind of struggled with is you get them to the end game, you start fatiguing them, but they're like at full health. you
Yeah,
know.
you didn't do any damage at the beginning, so now you're just trying to you have to get through all of their damage so they have like a couple more rounds to finish you off. So
Yeah,
this like hits them at the beginning and then so it's like easier for them to pick off at the end.
right. And if they do run out of cards, like say it gets towards the late game and you've got several dream fractures down, and they don't have any um like they don't have many cards left in their deck, they're hesitant to meditate anymore. Once you get them in a position where they can't really meditate anymore, they're not going to have power sides anymore. Unless they get really lucky and roll just a ton of them, you get rid of them, and then they can't get them back because they can't afford to meditate. So then you're guaranteed to get those damage off. Um, so yeah, I think it's really cool. It combos really really well with Magic Siphon because Magic Siphon's a side action, so you can side action
That's
lower
right.
their die, and then main action lower another, and then maybe deal a damage. Yeah, it's got some cool stuff going on.
Hmm. Yeah, professional dork said here now. I really like it as a diceless main action style. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
again like with reinforce how it's just you take a main action pass but you don't pass so you're just
Yeah,
stalling it out. And with this yeah you can do some damage in there and just mess up their game plan, which is really cool.
yeah, and combos with the illusion power die as well. So,
Hmm.
which maybe if you're doing reimagined stuff,
Here you go. We found a way to make it work.
there we go. It was in the pre-con this whole time. But yeah, I think this card has a lot of potential. I think it could be really cool. Um, Sort of enabling a new deck archetype. Not really new, but like just the spin down mill thing.
Yeah, I think that's what it seems like. Hope's like um some of the theme behind their deck was that's what I was going for, trying to like spin down mill you, get there
Yeah,
to get there that way.
for sure. All right, we're making good progress here. Let's go ahead and go to the next
Yeah,
one.
we're slowly pushing through. All right, next is Dreamlock Mage.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, this was good. Uh,
Are there,
Good card to follow up here.
yeah.
Maybe my favorite art out of this pack. I'm not sure. It's so good. It looks like she looks like a Bene Gesserit sister from Dune or something. Like,
Of course.
I love it.
Of course something, yeah, something
Something Dune
from
related.
Dune.
Yeah, yeah. So it's an ally. It costs 2 illusion class, and it's a 2 attack, 3 life, 1 recover. Um, a solid stat line for 2. And we've got restrict 1, side action, no exhaust. Lower 1 die on its power side and a target opponent's active pool 1 level. So yeah, you know, feeding right into that dream fracture sort of game plan, the spin down mill thing. You got this and it doesn't exhaust. It's just really cool.
Yeah, doing that every turn if you have like no other side to do can just be really nice pressure. Like they'll never get like their dice powers off or like their big reactions if you're ready for that, if you take your time. Like
Yeah.
I feel like simply people running sympathy pain are going to have like a really hard time with this because they can just keep
Mm,
turning down your charm power or sympathy power before they want to attack. So it's like either they meditate every turn until you attack, or they
yeah.
just don't get to use it.
Yep. And like uh one of the big design tenets of Reborn was that Nick wanted to make most anyway of the reactions in the game cost power dice. So
Hmm.
that you have to meditate and set them up, right? So this
Right.
just, you know, takes a giant dump on that. It's just like, nope, you don't get your setups. I'm gonna take them away from you. And it being a side action, you're spending your mains to summon units and stuff, so you get to keep your tempo up while they struggle to like get theirs going. So
Hmm.
yeah, really cool and solid stat line, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
it can block a bear and survive and then recover health, it's
when you're finally done like spinning down all their dice, then yeah, you've got that big 2/3 body that you can swing. It'll probably survive, so they'd have to deal with it in some other way. That's really nice.
Yeah. The illusion uh the illusion cost is pretty big.
That's
Uh
true, yeah.
there are a lot of really good illusion cards that they demand you play a lot of illusion. I think Shadow Guard's one of them.
Hmm.
Um I don't know. There's a lot of that stuff. So I think this probably does, you know, want to go into a deck with 4 or 5 illusion dice, maybe more. And in those decks, you probably want to play the illusion power die,
Hmm.
semi often. So this is definitely an illusion heavy. You're not going to splash this into everything, but it is really cool.
Yeah.
All right, how many do we have left? How we been doing?
Uh, we are 7 cards in, not
Okay.
counting Dimona and Hope, of 18. So we have 11 left.
Oh boy. Okay.
So we thought we were going fast, but I feel like we'll be talking about the others for
Okay.
a
Well,
bit longer.
let's
So we'll see.
let's
Next up, we
yeah.
have Double Down.
All right. Double down. Yeah. This card is wild. So, reaction
This is
spell. It's an illusion and a time class. You may play the spell after conjuration you control with a life value of 1 is destroyed. Uh, as a result of basically anything, but it's an opponent controls, like a power they control, and it says place 2 copies of that conjuration on your battlefield. It's like Sleeping Widows, but not.
hmm This has been a really contentious card, I feel like, just with the prevalence of Widow's Rush. Like,
Yeah,
oh, now they printed another one that's just like it. Like, so it just
but
a little scary,
but it's not exactly because you can trigger your own widows with like
right, for sure.
Brennan's ability. That's crucially how it works. You spirit burn and then attack immediately. So this has to be a dice power ability or whatever that an opponent controls. So it
Hmm.
is it is a true reaction to what your opponent's doing, not a reaction to what you're doing.
I do like that it's like
Yeah.
you can't proc it yourself.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, it's great with shadow spirits. It's great with
Raptor
rap
herders.
yeah, our hatchlings.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great with ancestor spirit, honestly. Pretty good there. You get the 2 hand filtering abilities and the 2
So
ones.
so one thing to note, it doesn't if one unit is destroyed, it'll only bring it back from conjuration piles.
Oh right,
So I
and
think Ancestor Spirit only has 2 in
it's a
there.
max
So
2, isn't
you
it?
would yeah, so with that one you'd only get 1 in there. So
Well,
yeah, Double Down works
drat.
best with you conjuration count of 3 or more, so you can get
Right.
2 out of it.
Never mind, guys. I should have remembered that from the. But it is work with vampire bat swarm as well, pretty well.
Yeah, Vampire Bat seems like it can be really cool. It puts you in
Yeah,
4 colors, but
yeah,
it's still a really interesting combo to make with that.
yeah. And it works with the. Does it work with Shadow Hound, or is there not enough? Is
Yeah,
that another
Shadowhound
2?
also has 2.
Okay,
Yeah, so
well,
you can get 1, but
right.
yeah,
I was
I
gonna
guess it's
look
hard to
through.
say is that worth it.
Yeah. Indiglo Creeper, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's probably 2. I mean, that's probably more than 2.
It is.
So
It's 3. So yeah, that one's
oof.
a Creeper got like mega buffed with Hopes
Yeah.
back. But uh yeah,
Oh,
strong card.
uh, professional Dorcast. So out of the new stuff, what is one card you're excited most for? I mean,
W-
I guess that's kind of how this list is. We're going from
Yeah.
least excited to most excited, so
Yeah,
stay tuned and
whichever.
you'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. Um yeah, we'll get to that for sure. I I do think we need to move along a little faster if we're going to get through these, but I'll
Yeah,
say
yeah.
Double Down seems like it has a lot of potential, but the 2 magic types might hold it back a little bit. forcing you to kind of be in a lot of colors. But we'll see. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. On to the next one
Hmm.
is Keepsake.
Okay. Yeah. So this one, it's interesting. It's a main action ready spell. After one or more dice in an opponent's active pool or rerolled, lowered, changed, whatever, place one status token on the spell for each affected die without exceeding four. And then later you can main action one illusion class to discard the spell and deal damage to a target unit equal to the number of status tokens that were on the spell. That's a lot of text, but
So
yeah,
it is funny because Jason just asked which card out or so most excited for, and Keepsake kind of is mine
really,
because it just feels like this is like a card that can really like help Vicky out so much
yeah,
because like giving her this, it's like you're giving her a uh, Ping Fester for 2 illusion dice and an
yeah,
extra main. Because you drop that down, and they know like if they put a knight down, they'll just spend 2 illusion dice and take the knight out. So I
yep,
think that can really help her like push in uh, to the more competitive side and just having that like damage there.
yeah,
Um, since it's discarded, like you might want some recursion, like Essence Druid, to get it back so you can keep doing it. But I think there's a lot of possibilities there that she can do now.
yeah. Essence Druid or Recollection or Recollect, is that what
Hmm.
it is? Yeah,
Recollect, yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, and even in non Vicky decks too, I think that when you combine this with like Dreamlock, Shadow Spirit, Hollow, the Illusion Power, the Dream Fracture, there's just so many spin down, dice changing effects, Magic Siphon, um, and like none of these are particularly hard to slot into a deck that
Yeah.
wants to do this type of thing. So yeah, I think it has a lot of potential. Like oftentimes one of the big things to hold stuff like this back is that you don't have a lot of proactive tools with dealing with the opponent's board. So
Hmm.
giving you a payoff for all this non-board stuff you're doing is really cool.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Also, really, really cool art. Love that.
Yeah, seeing Hope and Vicky when they were kids.
Yeah, super cool. All right, moving along.
Next we have Crystal Armor.
Okay, yeah. This was originally lower in the list, and I politely demanded that we move it up.
I sent him a first draft. He was like, "Oh, you have this really low." It's like, "Okay, where do you want it? We'll move it
Right.
up."
I
I was
just
just like pushing it off, like, "Oh, it's an alteration, so I don't like it."
right.
But
Uh
then I lost a game due to Crystal Armor, so
yeah,
that
it
too.
that's the thing is like I normally I wouldn't put something like this higher either, but I've been destroyed by this card so many times. It's a side action divine and it's got a blue box. So it's like at that instant speed sort of thing where after your opponent declares attackers, you can play it from your hand, paying a time power instead of the divine. And it just gives a unit +1/+1/+1. Um, it's so dang annoying to run into this card. You think you're making a good attack, you think you're gonna get a value trade, or you're gonna do whatever else, and then suddenly you're the one that's value traded on, and it just completely turns the tables. Like it's really annoying. And then usually that unit, unless you want to try and sink more effort into killing it, it's gonna stick around. It's got +1 recover. It's gonna heal faster. It's just gonna be this big thing sitting around. Um, it's a really annoying card, and it works since it's a side action too. It works proactively. If you just want to use it as a +1 attack, or to trade up
Mhm.
with something, you swing a Frostback Bear. They're gonna block with their own or something, or a 2/3, and then you maybe just side action first, and you turn it into a three, you know, 3/4, and now it can trade with anything. It's ugh, I love this card. It's
Yeah.
really good.
With the time, it's like kind of like a particle shield too if they attack with it. So it's like you get the particle shield, and then now you're swinging
Hmm.
for extra damage at them. So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it survives and then swings back stronger. That's I really like this card. I've been kind of wrecked by it a bunch. there's not a whole lot to say about it. It's just good. It's a really solid alteration. I do think Divine has kind of a competition already with this though, with Power
Mhm.
Through. I think
Yeah, it's got just makes it hard to slot in with the
yeah,
other cards they have.
right. And as we'll see later, like there's a lot of pressure on time Divine like dice because of some of the cards that we'll see in a little bit. And so
Hmm.
it's just pushing you further and further into almost like dual color territory. But yeah, I like it. It's fun. What's next?
All right, so this next one, it's kind of three for with how we're doing it,
Okay.
because two of them I didn't feel like it's worth talking about without the main one, so we'll just go through these ones.
Hmm.
Blessing of Lightning.
Okay. So yeah, Blessing of Lightning is the side action divine. It's an action spell, and you choose three up to three divine dice in your exhaustive pool and resolve their dice powers without paying the costs.
And we also have Railroad Recruit.
Yeah. Which is an ally. It's a one cost divine again, main to put in play. It's a zero attack, two life, one recover. And when it comes into play, you choose a divine die in your exhausted pool and resolve its dice power. Same thing.
And then the last that goes with it is Piercing Light.
Yeah, this is kind of the big build around card in
Yeah.
Dimona. So ready spell, a divine power to put into play, and then it's just a always on ability. It says all units that you control with a divine die on them have overkill one.
And if you get a second one down, everything gets Overkill 2. Get a third
Yep.
one down, Overkill 3, because it stacks like that.
Yeah.
It just seems like a I don't know how good it'll be, but it just seems like a fun, like new engine and win con to try to build for.
Yeah. So like typically, and throughout the life of Reborn, we've told people, new players, like, you typically need to dip into two different win conditions. So you always have a backup, right? Because if you just
Mhm.
go for swinging units, you may not be able to close out a game. So you want like mill as a backup or burn, something to close out the game with. Or if you're just playing pure mill, you need something to deal damage early in the game or so on. Pure swing decks where you just swing with units um, have been really historically kind of hard to do because you just don't have the reach. But Piercing Light kind of changes that up. It allows you to play that kind of deck where you're just fighting for the battlefield and swinging units constantly, but you also get that overkill damage in. Um,
Yeah.
and then you got Rayward and Blessing of Lightning to kind of like enable this and make it really powerful.
Yeah, Blessing of Lightning is like a kind of like works how Amplify from Leo's set
Hmm.
works in a sense that it's one class die for three damage, but this is split up over 3 units. And then if you
Hmm.
have Piercing laid out, if they even if they block the units um, and they're destroyed, they still take damage. So it's like, is it worth it to lose a unit and still take damage there?
Yeah.
Um, and once you get like two Piercing lights down, then it's really like hard to like justify even blocking the units because then they're just going to do like if you're putting a divine die on one attack unit, they're still hitting you for the overkill. So it's like if you
Yeah.
have them and just like swinging at units, like that'll really guard pressure a lot, I think.
Yeah, I think what ends up happening when you get the second Piercing Light down is that this stops becoming a burn card and becomes more of like a bypass card because you make it
Yeah.
to where they don't want to block. So
Mhm.
you just swing right through because like at a certain point the overkill stops mattering because you're just losing your units anyway. So why not just let them hit you? Do you want to take three from a Hammer Knight, or do you want to take, lose your unit and then take two? Like,
Mhm.
I just take three. So I do think Piercing Light has this sort of weird bell curve as far as power level goes, where like it starts off like just kind of it's pretty good, but then it like goes like up here, or sorry, yeah, it goes up here and it's like peak good at like overkill 2, where it's like creating these like uh damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation. And then it goes down to 3 where it's just like they're just gonna, ignore it. They're just gonna take the hit, you know. Um but it's really cool. I like to see this kind of engine working, and I think Wayward Recruit is going to be a card that we'll see play in decks outside of Piercing Light. I think that card is really strong.
Yeah, I've been really looking at it with like Ceratosaurus mount deck of like you drop that, then you mount it, and then you have the Divine Die on another unit. So it
Yeah,
just really makes it tough for them to figure out like what they want to do against that. Um,
yeah, and,
but
and
there are just so many different like one cost allies that are nice to use with Ceratosaurus. So it's tough to see there,
mhm.
but the 2 life on Rayward like can be really nice too, I think.
Yeah, and it's almost like a semi sort of dice cheating uh
Mhm.
thing. And I think even just as a 1/2/1, if you just put the Divine Die on itself, like you're essentially you're paying you're paying 1 die to put it into play, but then you get that die back as a buff on it. So it's almost like paying half a die for a unit.
Yeah.
It's not quite,
And
1.0 Enchanted Violinist territory, but
but it yeah, it kind of is like that in 1.0 there are a lot of 1-2 stat lines for one,
yeah,
and with Railroad Recruit you can do that because you can play it and then put the Divine Die on itself. So it's like
yeah,
yeah, 1-2 for one. If it's even if it's blank, that seems like good stats right there.
yeah. I think just from a value standpoint, I think Raid Recruit is one of the best one cost allies, just because it's almost not a full die for more than 1 die's value. You know, typically a one die gives you like a 1/1 or something.
Right.
This is giving you 1/2/1 in stats. Now where you distribute it, it kind of doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, I think it's really cool. But yeah, let's move on to the next stuff.
Yeah. So next we have Realm Walker.
Oh my gosh, we're never gonna finish this, are we?
No.
Okay, Realmwalker is the knight from Hope set. It's an illusion power and a time class and a basic. And it's a 3/3/2 unit with a isolate 1. It's a new ability. It says when this unit is declared as an attacker, choose a target opponent to place 1 exhaustion token onto an unexhausted unit of their choice that they control. Yeah. Um
Good.
this card is gross. It's it is so good with Lightbringer. Like,
Lightbringer with Echo. There's a lot
yeah.
of like exhaustion things that just works really well with.
Yeah, and with Echo too, you know, you get to kind of choose which unit that they, even though it's their choice, Echo kind of removes the choice.
Yeah.
So does Lightbringer in a lot of ways. So, but even outside of that, I think that this is a really strong knight. It's not as strong defensively. It doesn't have alert. It's got 3 life. It's easier to kill. But if it goes off, it is so strong because it doesn't need to kill a unit to get that powerful, kind of night trigger like Sonic Swordsman does.
So if you have 2 units out and then they drop a realm marker on you, do you just swing with both units so they don't get exhausted? Or is that
Hmm.
also still good for the realm marker player because now they don't have a blocker, any blockers?
Yeah, man, that's such a tricky situation, right? Especially, I mean,
Hmm.
especially if they're like smaller units. Um, because like you either, if you only swing with one, the other's getting exhausted. So you
Yeah.
have to swing with both of them, and that's so annoying.
But then, yeah, if you don't have a way to get rid of it, then as soon as you drop another unit, it just
Uh-huh.
attacks and exhausts it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's pretty
it's
cool.
it's a really strong card, I think. And I think this card would be incredible in Rin. I had to name drop my boy at least once, but ice buff on this thing, and it's a 3/4 now, and oh man, 3/4 recover 2 with this ability. Get out of town.
I think
Uh,
the only thing negative I'd have to say about it is it's probably my least favorite art from this set.
hmm.
Um, I think the temporal um shadow behind it is a cool aspect, but it just looks like very like kind of generic fantasy kind of art
Uh,
with it.
yeah,
When I first saw it, it's like, okay, it's not like it doesn't like jump out at me
right.
with
I,
those, but
I,
that's just me.
I don't know. It's a samurai with a hood. I mean, that wins a
That's
lot of points for me in
that's
general.
fair.
All right, let's move on.
All right. Hey,
Try
you
and get
didn't
through
get stuck
this.
on that for too long.
Yeah, I was
Next,
thankful of that.
next is Wishing Wing.
Wishing Wing. This has been the subject of a lot of discussion because
Hmm.
some people think this card is fantastic and other people think it's gonna sit in a binder, which I think they're crazy. But
Oh, I
uh,
think this card is so fun.
so it's a ready spell. It's a book. It costs a time class to put into play, and it does have a focus too. So you get to put a status token on the Wishing Wing, which is kind of important as you'll see. So when it comes into play, if you have a time power in your active pool, put a status token on it. This is really not that hard to play around. You pretty much get this all the time, unless you are really being pressured or you have to spend your dice in weird ways or you roll really badly. But most of the time, this just happens. And then it's got X attack, where X is the number of status tokens, so it becomes a 1/1 when you summon it and have that time power in. But it also has when this unit is destroyed, you may draw X cards. So you get an X1 that draws X cards when it dies, and you get the status token on it. But if you start, you know, pumping this thing with status tokens, the value just goes through the roof.
Yeah, this card to me seems really cool. Like playing it in a Lulu, just you drop it, it's a 1/1, and then if they don't deal with it, you can bolster it and add a status token, get the spark on it, so then it swings for 3, and then if they kill it, then you just get to draw 2 cards. That just seems like really nice value there.
Yeah,
Um,
I
I
I
think
do
it's a.
think. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I think it's a little underwhelming with getting to just draw one, just because I don't
Hmm.
see much of a benefit in drawing like just a few cards with uh how I play Ashes right now, but
Hmm.
I think like the more cards you can draw, like even with 2, like that can just help with deck filtering a lot. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty cool there.
Yep. And it's got some pretty amazing synergy with explosive growth, where
Oh god, that's disgusting.
you know it's 3 dice, but the
Yeah.
two dice you spend for explosive come as a side action, so you don't have to risk losing that value. You just get it. But like you swing and it becomes like a 6/1, right? Or wait, no,
Yeah,
yeah,
6.
6/1. And then when it dies, you can draw 6 cards, or draw three cards, not six. Draw
3
three
cards.
cards, the SAS tokens. So I've done that before, and it feels really good. It feels um you know really really good if they have no blockers, and just at the end of the round they just see this 1/1 wishing wing sitting there, like
It's like, oh, it's fine.
it's super telegraphed,
Yeah.
but yeah, if you can pull it off, it's really gross. Um, yeah, I think Wishing Wing is really strong. I think the more status token synergy stuff we see, besides time hoppers and stuff like that, the stronger this card will get. Uh, it, I think it provides pretty decent value by itself, but probably not enough to, you know, be the cornerstone of the deck yet. But maybe in the future we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, next up.
Okay. Next one is Fox Spirit.
All right. Now here's the other conjuration out of Hope. This one has a book tax, which is the bane of everyone's existence. But it's a one basic to put it into play, and it's a illusion to summon, and if it's focused, you get to change it to a side action illusion, which is really cool. It feeds really well into this unit's abilities. So it's a 1/1 unit. It has two abilities. One, when it comes into play, you can raise a die in your active pool 1 level, a little bit of dice fixing. And then the other one is Pounce 2. So when it's declared as an attacker, you get to add 2 to its attack value for the remainder of the turn if it's targeting an exhausted unit. Now, this buff being a remainder of the turn thing means if you attack an exhausted unit, it goes up to a 3/1, and then your opponent decides they want to guard it, they're taking 3 damage to face. Just pretty good.
So I haven't decided like which of these abilities I like more on it because dice fixing on a unit that you can get repeatedly every round is just really really nice to me.
Yeah.
But like yeah, attacking an exhausted unit for like 1 die doing 3 damage, that's also just like great value there. So it's like um both of them are just really cool on just like this one cost unit after round one.
Yeah. And
Um,
the side action thing, I think this is worth focusing, even though it's the book text kind of sucks.
yeah, the book tax makes it questionable to me. Makes it
Yeah,
tough.
I, I think it is. But you know, it is sort of like you're playing for like the late round where
Mhm.
you're gonna absolutely clean up a battlefield. With all these Fox Spirits, it is I think better against sort of mid-rangey decks like Dimona that have these a lot of 3 health, like big dice investment units where you can consistently trade up.
Mhm.
Um, but it works pretty good as just a solid, kind of aggressive card too. If you, want to pressure Phoenixborn blocks, it makes it a really annoying card to do that with. Um, I don't know. I think this is a really solid unit. I was higher on it when it first was spoiled. Lately, though, I've seen people have been making the comparison to False Demon a lot, and False Demon's a card I've always really liked. And you know,
I see that comparison.
yeah, because like you get uh the the basic cost of this Fox Spirit is kind of incorporated into False Demon's normal cost, so it's not a book tax, but it's still a illusion and a basic, right? And with
Mhm.
that, you get a 2/2 unit, so a much more powerful unit, and then the 1 damage to an exhausted unit. So it's still kind of like a 3 damage to an exhausted unit, but it's way more flexible and the unit's more robust.
Right.
Um, but you don't get the dice fixing. You don't get the side action activation if you want to do that.
Mhm.
You don't get double down synergy, so or duplicate synergy for that matter.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Jason mentioned he likes running it with Butterfly Monk or Shadow Spirit, just getting the spin up there. Have
Mhm.
it in a deck where I'm running it with Shadow Spirits, and that does feel really nice because yeah, you just don't have to worry about meditating as much because then you can always have like get those power sides that you need from the Fox Spirit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Honestly, the number one reason that I stopped slotting butterfly monks into my decks is the power dice cost. Like it is so obnoxious for that card. Um, I don't know why. I do it for Shadow Spirit all the time. I do it for Ruby Cobra, but for Butterfly Monk, it's just so annoying because it's not as proactive, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, and also costing a nature power dice or you know, that's they're gold. You don't want to just waste them on anything. But
Right.
all right, we
Uh,
got 2 cards left, right?
yep, 2 cards.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so next one is Crystal Archer.
All right, yes, this is a powerhouse ally out of Dimona. I want to say divine. I kept saying Dimona over and over again. It costs a divine and a time. Oh my gosh, this has been a long podcast. Uh, a divine and a time, and it's a 2 attack, 2 life, 1 recovery unit. When it's declared as a blocker, attacker, or a guard, you may deal 1 damage to a target unit opponent controls. Yeah. What do you think about this? I think it's really good.
Yeah, this just seems really crazy value. Like you drop it and then like you can attack and just take out a unit. Um, they can't um attack your Phoenixborn like with 1 life units because
hmm
then you can just block it and kill it. And if it blocks a 1 life unit, and then like say they only attack with one, you can just like ping that attacking unit, and then Archer comes home unexhausted.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. The only downside with it is like people can play around it and just attack the Crystal Archer, and it can't shoot then when it
Yeah.
blocks. Um, because well, in that sense, it's not blocking or guarding; it's just getting attacked.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that it's some great value there. I think this is another card. Uh, you'll like me saying this that goes really well with Rin. To make
Yeah.
this a 2/3 for two is just seems like crazy value.
Yeah. I agree. I think Rin has a lot of really, really cool uh pieces in these two packs that he's very excited about. Um I think Crystal Archer also works really great with like call to action. You can
Yeah.
unexhaust it and then deal the damage and then it's still up, to do something. Yeah, I think this is a really strong 2/2 for two. And those are hard to balance. You really need to justify not having that extra stat point or whatever. You really need a very powerful ability. And I think this one definitely has that. Um, we'll see how prevalent it is. Divine Time, it does kind of put you in a deck building corner. Um, but we'll see. Uh, I think it's really good. I think maybe the biggest drawback to Crystal Archer is the time divine cost, specifically because of another card we're going to talk about right now. So let's move on to
That's
the
fair.
last card.
Last one is Cloudburst Griffin.
That's it. So this is the one where we both put the top of the list for a card we're most excited about. So it also costs a divine and a time class, and it's a ready spell. So no focus, just put one on the battlefield, and it's a 3 attack, 2 life, quick strike. That's it. Just good
It
stuff.
it's funny like we put other cards that were just good stuff at the lower like Ensnare
Uh-huh.
at the beginning, but like I guess just with this being like a unit
Mm-hmm.
that put it up like I can't even say a notch, like all the way to the top because like that it's just
Mm-hmm.
good stuff, just great value there.
Well,
We
also
were
it
saying,
it like very specifically preys on some of like the it does like two things here. First off, it preys on Frostback Bear, and this Frostback Bear has been one of the biggest build around staple sort of good stuff swing deck cards in Ashes since the game relaunched, even since 1.0, let's be honest. But uh the Cloudburst Griffin preys directly on the Frostback Bear, which is really cool, but it also sort of fulfills the same kind of role you want Frostback Bear to fill,
mhm,
in that it's a very proactive, strong, aggressive unit that costs 2 and that you can summon from your spell board repeatedly. So it's kind of just it's a really strong card. I think the biggest down. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's really good with guard pressuring too.
Yeah,
Like, because with that
the
quick
quick
strike 3
strike,
attack, it's going to like take out anything that it attacks.
pretty
I've even
much.
like top of round, like turn one of the top of the round, I've swung at a unit and they broke their guard immediately. So them losing their guard the rest of the round right off the
Ugh,
bat, just from that is this
yeah,
is just really good there.
it's so
And he
good.
did 3 damage for free,
Yeah,
basically.
right. For two, 3 for 2 is like that's that's molten gold territory there,
Hmm.
Um, and you could have two of them out, which is great. But yeah, this is really strong, and I think the biggest downside with Griffin and with Crystal Archer is just the heavy divine time costs. Like you really want to play both of these, but then you're looking at putting, you know, committing at least two divine two time to your deck. You probably want to start going up even higher than that.
Yeah,
Um,
just so you don't meditate
just yeah,
too much.
exactly. So it's costly. Let's be real. It's definitely costly. Um, two classes is those basics. That's part of the reason why I like False Demon so much is that it's a class and a basic, which is just so good on dice spreads. It makes it a lot easier to have flexible first fives. You may not have as flexible of a first five when you're running like Cloudburst, Crystal Archer stuff.
Mhm.
Unless you go dual color, but no one's really doing that right now. Um,
Not yet.
yeah, but yeah, I think it's a really really strong card, and it's a welcome sight. I think it's yeah, not as good on defense. Obviously, it's very aggressive, but yeah, is that it? We got through all of them.
We did it, yeah. Just
Yay!
under an hour and a half we got
Nice,
there.
awesome. Well, with that out of the way, let's see. Is there any other things we missed in chat? Jason says
Let's see.
James for double round one Crystal Archer. Yeah, you pay two life there, but that does seem pretty good.
I have wondered about that, but yeah, the 2 life costs there hasn't made me want to try it out yet because that seems scary, but I guess it's not that much more than getting like a double raptor herder or something, so that can be some good value there,
Yeah,
especially if they both stick around.
yeah. Any other questions in chat before we close this up? Phil, I do have a question for you. This was off
Yeah.
script, but who do you think are the biggest winners? Besides, I mean, Dimona and Hope are both really good. I think we'll see a
Mhm.
lot of them in the coming seasons. But who do you think of the older Phoenixborn and older decks are the biggest winners with these cards?
Um, well, I was already saying I think Vicky got a big step up just with keepsake.
Yeah.
We'll see how much she can push into the top there. People might still not want to play her too much because she's been listed at the bottom for so long. But I think the real winner coming out of this is Echo.
Yeah.
Like, Cloudburst Griffin and Realm Walker just work so well with his package. Same
Mhm.
for Fox Spirit. Like,
Yeah.
Spellboard of Griffin, Fox Spirit, and Lightbringer just works so well.
Yeah.
Um, and that can really pressure a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think Echo is going to be a really nasty deck just in general. Like I agree with you on Vicky. Honestly, there were some people who said like Vicky Mill could be competitive after Oric and Lulu came out.
Hmm.
There were people saying, like Vicky Mill, this could be a thing. And after actually a lot of people were experimenting with Oric and like, you know, struggling with him, they're like, maybe I should just play this in Vicky. And she didn't just get keepsake either. I think Dreamlock Mage and Dream Fracture go really well in Vicky deck.
Oh yeah,
So
Dream Fracture can be really nice, especially
yeah,
since she has 5 spellboard.
yep. So I think
That's
Vicky,
nice.
we may actually see some cool like control mill Vicky decks, which would be really cool. But yeah, I agree with you there. I do think Rin got a lot of really good stuff here, but Rin has the eternal Rin problem of just being just not having quite enough proactive power behind him.
Hmm. Too
So
defensive.
yeah, we'll see. I think he could potentially create a lot of cool value trades with these cards, but yeah, well, I don't know. He's probably gonna still be middle of the pack. Yeah, but I think that is a pretty good place to close things up here. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
um,
that
yeah,
was good.
yeah, these cards are really cool. I'm excited to see what people do with them in Shuffle Bus. So,
Hmm. Early testing has been a lot of fun so far, experimenting, and can't wait to see what everyone else comes up with come tournament time.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up here. This episode will be up on Spotify in the next week, sometime as soon as I can get to uploading it. As always, if you are interested in playing, there's first five live, or sorry, we got too much first five stuff. There's first five Fridays every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Central, and we have the league as well. If you can't make it to Friday, you can match you up with someone who can schedule a game throughout the week. There are tournaments coming up. Shuffle Bus has they have a single day tournament coming up that hopefully will still happen depending on attendance. But if you're really interested in that, make sure you go sign up. And then with this season of Shuffle Bus wrapping up, we'll have the next season opening up soon. So check on the Discord for more information on that. I'll have some more YouTube stuff happening soon. I'm working on some videos. Uh, yeah, I don't know what else as far as announcements or whatever. I think that's it.
I think that's good, yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time.
See you guys.